Welcome to Political Paradigm. I am Terry Ikumi. I have my very first female guest. She's a youth and wants to be president of the country. She's the first female to declare her intention to run for president in 2023. Khadijah Okunnu-Lamidi. Welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I must say that since you declared your intention, it's been a wave of attention you've been getting, I believe so, because I've seen the kind of engagements you've had. Is this what you anticipated? How would you describe the kind of attention you've received since declaring your intention to run for president?
Okay. It's been amazing, and I'm very thankful for the amount of interest that Nigerians have shown. However, I think it is expected. I think Nigerians are ready for the birth of something new, a new Nigeria, where their own interests are put in the forefront of campaigns and they get to choose a government that serves them. So this is the reason why we are having such a great awareness and great following. Nigerians are hungry for a government that would serve them and that would be for them and for their future generations.
Has it been all positive? Have you had negative reactions? I'd like to think that there are certain reactions that have made you rethink this decision and question whether you should go ahead with it. Have you had such?
Well, they call it criticism, right? And it's as long as it spurs you on your journey. I think every feedback is necessary at this stage.
So there's no discouragement at all?
No.
What are some of the concerns that you've had since you've declared your intention? I have a few reactions which I would read out to you, but I'd like to get to know from you first.
To this job we're running for, this race we're going for, it only requires the best and the most prepared for the job. It's not a situation where you can, put your feet in the water and go back on it. We have to be clear. We are representing the voice of millions of Nigerian, we could say youth, but I believe it's across the spectrum. Millions of Nigerians who have been silenced over the years. We are here, or I am here, to represent them. You will hear in the course of my conversation that I use we a lot because I understand the mandate and I understand who I'm representing. The people of Nigeria is not an interest group, it's the majority of Nigerians. As you can see, there's a huge gap in our political space. This is where I fit in.
Are you worried about your popularity? Because some of the remarks that have trailed your declaration have been really, really questionable. Some said, why have I never heard of her? I suggest that before you run for the office of the president, you participate in some social engagement programs, especially with the youth. Someone said, who is Khadijah? What's her manifesto? What has she been up to most recently? What's her track record?
Well, I have presented myself for this office to serve the people. It's service to the people that I'm here for. Now, you could talk about track record. Anything anyone wants to read, it's already on our website. My manifesto, my track record, my background, everything that needs to be known, I have put out there.
We have time. Tell us.
Yes. So no, but I don't want to sidetrack to that. But that is, people. The questions that are asked are just ways on which people, want to close up the political space. The space is open. Everybody can. You're backed by the Constitution. Anybody can get up to run. I have presented myself. Any questions that need to be asked, I'm ready to answer them. It's not a situation where somebody is anointed or a position is reserved for a certain few. Anybody can aspire. And what my candidacy is bringing is obviously it's bringing national consciousness. People who have been disillusioned by the system or who have just been, voter apathy. This is a strategy, and what I'm trying to bring to the table is national consciousness all over again, to people to engage, take part. You have to contribute to nation building. It's not going to happen on its own, and it requires people, average people, not any supernatural people. It has to be average, you and I, every average Joe that will take part and contribute into this political space. So this is where I am. You could, those comments will come. I mean, this is part of the journey. They will come, and presenting yourself for this position opens you up to that, but you have to be prepared to take that and run with it. It shouldn't stop you, it shouldn't hinder you. You should be able to keep going with or without.
Well, your political history is very important. If you want to embark on this journey, I'm sure you'll agree with me. And that's why many people would ask, where have you been this whole time? Who are you? What do you, what's known of you? So you have said that you've been studying politics or been in politics for about 15 to 20 years. Talk to us about this time. What exactly happened between 15 and 20 years of you being in politics?
Okay, political participation doesn't really require your active engagement in it. There have been several political candidates that I believe would deliver good to the people of Nigeria who have supported. I have been part of, been part of strategy sessions where, we think tanks, where we think, but everything is always geared towards the people. There's so much that I have done in terms of humanitarian aspects. There's a water relief, which is a pet project of mine, because I believe one of the basic amenities, which is water, is so fundamental to human life that if people don't have access to that, they can't really function. So that's one area that I have dedicated a lot of time into providing water to disenfranchised neighborhoods. However, in the political space, I have, run with candidates that I believed in, that I believed would deliver to the people. So it's, I've done a lot in the space.
At the federal or state level?
Federal, states, local governments, every level, that's why I say participation. And when people think about it, it's not just people running for office that are participating in government, but we need to fix our politics, which is what the issue is. And it's unless the right candidate step forward. And that's why I keep talking about ambition. You might think my ambition is big, but this is what I've always wanted to be at the forefront of engagements that would awaken the Nigerian populace, that would bring the betterment for the greater good and, for the greater majority of Nigerians. This is why I have always served in whichever capacity I've been in. I've always been of service to the country, always.
Let me take you back to 2019 before we return to your ambition. You talked about how you have supported certain candidates in the past. In 2019 was a big moment for this country. In what direction did you turn, or what did you think about the 2019 election?
Well, I believe that, and this goes back to leadership. Leadership is you're supposed to trust your leadership. You're supposed to be able to ensure that your leadership takes you to the right direction and to the right course. And this is why I'm imploring the youth. You need to go get registered, you need to get your PVCs, and you need to also participate. You need to listen to engagements that are happening. You need to listen to what's going on around you. Politics is no different from your lives. Don't be sold a tall tale and, people just tell you how to go. You're not robots. You have a mind of your own, and you have ideas that the country is yearning for. Now, like you said, so 2019 was one of those times where I think a lot of youth, if you want to put them, were not really, they didn't have an opinion of their own. They hadn't made up their minds onto or understood what good governance is supposed to look like. We've been conditioned for so long to believe that personalities are governments. No, they are not. No personality should trump or be bigger than any government. The government is driven by people. It mustn't be owned. We're not supposed to be ruled. So these are the parts that start coming to the fore once you come into your own, that's why consciousness is quite important. And this is what I'm trying to do with my candidacy. You need to be conscious of wherever we are at every point in time and do our best where we find ourselves. You can talk about the two major parties in Nigeria, and, I believe that the parties are filled with personalities. And these are some of the reasons that we have issues. And I'm not sure let me throw the question back to you. Do you think they've done a great job in, channeling us to the right course? I think that's a no. So, this comes back to these two major parties that everybody are, we're all focused on, and people, we're actually not focusing on the basic amenities that are needed by the people. The people need security, they need water, they need education, they need to be able to access healthcare at their local, in their local environments. They need, and all these things. We have a teeming youth that are waiting, that are just vibrant, waiting to solve the issues. If more ideas are not put into the pot, we can't find solutions. And it's only in the youth, in the hands of the youth, that we find these things. I read recently about our demography, and it kind of shocked me how between the ages of 0 to 14 are 49 or 48% of the population, and between the ages of 15 to, I think that is 49, is another 50-something% of the population. Now, between 60 years old and above, or 65 years old and above, is 2.8 of the population. So it's funny how we're supposed to wait till we're 2.8% of the population to lead the majority. That's kind of, it doesn't make sense to me. We have all the vibrancy of the youth that is just being, it's been suppressed, and we need to get back up, because that's the push. That's the vibrancy that pushes nations forward. We need to push forward whether we like it or not. And you can talk about, now you're letting me go on, but you can talk about, how, what a president is supposed to do. A president is supposed to be able to find the balance that is required in the economy. I mean, in the country. I mean, the balance goes across board. I was talking about technology. This is what the youth is going to be able to help. The technology can help in all aspects of our of our governments. And you see, it's weird. You see, people talking about, concentrate on the economy. I understand that's important. Security, I understand that's important. But we need a balance. What we've lacked so long in Nigeria is actually a balance. We cannot get economic development without the basic amenities. If you can, for all you can create wealth and create, just that's why it's not been working. They give people 5,000, 10,000. You haven't given them the basic amenities they need. That 5,000 is going to be swept away they can't grow it. So you cannot even, if you don't have your health center, you don't have education, that 5,000 means nothing. So you've given them economic power, but with nothing. So we can try to grow the economy as much as we want, but if we do not have these basic amenities, so we need a government, we need a president that will be able to provide the balance that is needed. Make sure every single infrastructure is acquired, and is planned for. That's number one. But then you need to have the best of the hands. The person handling economy must be top-notch. The person that is in your security advisory team must be top-notch. The people handling your health sector, you can't bring someone who has absolutely no knowledge on that to handle that. But you have to be able to create the balance and create a working environment that works for everyone, that brings all the ideas, that is not partisan, that is not creating enmity, that doesn't have vengeance against some people or some tribe or some race. All these things, we need to just throw them out of it. We need balance. And this balance is what I'm here to bring, I'm here to provide, And so we can talk about, so many things to do, but Nigeria needs a rebirth. And the midwifing process needs to be carefully managed. And this is what I'm providing.
I'm curious, at what point did it hit you that you could be president?
Well, I'm of the age, from 35, anybody can aspire to this position. But just like with what I mentioned earlier, I've always wanted to be a forerunner in national development. I think this has always spurred every single action that I take in life generally. So, the opportunity to serve is something I take very, 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 very seriously. And the engagements and the ability to connect and the ability to keep a certain neutrality across the board that I've been able to do over the course of my life, I think has helped my ambition. It helped come to come to fruition.
Well, what sort of political mentorship have you received to prepare you for this journey?
My father is the best political mentor you could ever have. He taught me the values that are required in life. He taught me, I still benefit from his wealth of knowledge. He's almost 89, so you can imagine the amount of wisdom that I'm able to tap into from there. He's been someone who I admire him so much, and I admire his values. I admire his tenacity and his passion for nation, for his love for the country. Yeah, I do admire that.
Now, in 2019, I interviewed the former Minister of Education, Obieze Kwesili. She was running for president at the time, and she sounded so serious and interested in it. And she hinted on a possible coalition. She went on to withdraw from that race. It was quite disappointing for a number of Nigerians, especially the women folk and young girls who had hoped that that would be some form of motivation for them. I don't know how far that you intend to go with this.
Oh, all the way till we win. That's how far. Dr. Obi is someone I have so much respect for. She's done a great deal in the political space and in the public space. My own ambition is all the way to the end. We have time, we have chance on our side. This is another chance for us to make it in Nigeria, to get it right. And I'm here offering myself. I'm offering myself for the Nigerian people. It has to be by the people. It's not going to be, some installation or no. I'm actually reaching out to the people if they want me, if they really want me to represent their voice, and in all aspects of their lives, then here I am. I'm actually running on the mandate of the people. So I'm in it to win and in it to the end. And I will do everything I can for national development and for the good of the nation. Nothing more, nothing less.
Do you feel like you have, as a youth, do you feel like you will have the support of the youth population? Because clearly that's a very large population, and then with a conversation tilting in the direction of a younger person occupying that position, or at least more youths coming out to participate in the process, do you feel that you would have the support of the youths? And not just because you're a youth, but what sort of engagement would you have with the youths to get their support?
I really do believe I'll have the support of the youth. Like I mentioned earlier, they're yearning for better governance. They're yearning for, all their basic amenities to be provided. They're yearning for a government that would listen to them, that is for them. So this is what I represent, and I am engaging widely. I am, our strategy, like I mentioned earlier, is not to. Our campaign is a campaign, but our strategy is more of creating more, like youth centers. This is something that we haven't had for so long in Nigeria, where youth from across the country can actually meet, engage, and organize. One of the issues we've had so long is our ability to organize. We have a lot of complaints about things we need to do. Well, the youth in Zamfara has not really sat down with the youth in Enugu or the youth in Ekiti to actually sit down and understand that we all have the same issues. We all have the same needs. It's not about, ethnic lines or tribal lines. Those are limiting factors. We're all similar in what we experience in Nigeria. So we need that organizing power, which some other generations have been able to master. That is where we need to focus our energies on. Organizing, organize. That includes getting your PVC. That includes going. These youth centers, we're setting up one in every state. That means us meeting and having conversations, genuine conversations about what we want and how we want to govern ourselves. It's we don't have to be governed. We can govern ourselves. If you can do it in your daily lives, then you can govern yourselves if you wish the best for yourself and for your community at large.
You're on social media. That means you understand that when it comes to political office in relation to the youths, anyone who is seen to have not spoken out during the NSAS protest will be questioned. That's what they call the cancel culture now on social media, specifically Twitter. And one of the comments under your declaration was she part of the NSAS protest? Did she lend a voice? So did you?
Definitely. I was a big part of the NSAS process, and that was the first stage of our consciousness, and this is the second stage.
So when you look at the NSAS protest in relation to Nigerian politics, what do you see? What changes do you think that would bring to the politics in 2023?
Consciousness is key. We have got to the point where we understand, the lies that have been told over the years. We understand that our voices are not being heard. They're not listening to us. And I'm tired of really saying they are not listening to us. We need to start listening to each other. There's no time to point fingers anymore. It's now our responsibility. It's time for us to get up. I don't want to push, the more you give power to something, the more you empower it. So, it's no longer time, for us to talk about what they're giving us or what they're not giving us. It's time for us to take what belongs to us.
Let me curiously ask you this question. I know that your declaration was made sort of on social media and it's been received quite well. But have you had engagements outside social media with some of those who are not on social media? I mean, to an extent at the rural level, to understand the difference in the level of acceptance. You do understand that the social media population may not, statistically, they say, that the social media population is not always actively involved in the voting process. Hopefully that changes in 2023, but
that will change.
Those in the rural areas who don't have access to social media.
That will change. I'm sure of that. We all understand the power that the technology, and I think our social media, everybody who has projected me in any light, the fact that you're engaging with us and you're ensuring that you have your voice in the conversation is good enough. Now, as you realize that I'm a grassroots person, this our new office in Abuja, you understood before we started the interview that I wanted to project grassroots, the real Nigeria story. Everything that we do, we can polish it, which is nice. However, we understand our core, and that core is what I don't want us to go too far from. So, going across Nigeria, going to every state in Nigeria is heavy on my mind. My team are trying to hold me down because I'm ready to just go. This is what I do. This is generally, when I go on water trips, when we go giving water, that is me in my essence. So I do enjoy meeting people and I do enjoy engaging. I hope every engagement has an impact on the person's life. And, I never leave a person the way I met them. I
know anyone watching now would want to question this. You've said that you want to run for president, and there's no history of you running for any other office. And being new to this level to politics generally, and then starting with this level of politics, what's fueling this ambition?
Service to the people. Saying you need to start in some place is closing up the political space. It's telling you that there are bottlenecks that you need to overcome to get to the top. Every Nigerian who is of age, who has the intellectual capacity, who has the the know-how and has the love for the people, has the right to run. Starting. Like I told you, I've always been fueled. I've been fueled by service to the nation. So my ambition happened to coincide with the highest office. This is what I've set my sights on. There's so many Nigerians who are qualified and who would have their ambitions set on gubernatorial, on senatorial, on House of Rep. these are so many amazing Nigerians. One person is going to, get the position. So people can aspire. I don't think there's anyone that tells you what to aspire to and what not to aspire to.
Being a youth and then a woman, in the Nigerian context, would be considered a very, very dangerous mix to run for office. I mean, a youth, a woman. Do you think that Nigeria is ready for a first female president?
I do.
What do you see that makes you say so?
I think we understand that the only thing that we're going to do differently than what we've been doing for so many years is include women into the political conversations. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And you understand that bringing a woman into the scene actually creates a big splash everywhere we go. If you're making decisions without a woman at the table, you're making wrong decisions. So if we're ever going to, if any political party or anybody right now, anybody in the political scene wants to make a difference, it is only through the women that they can make the difference.
Then there's the issue of age and experience, which you said. We'll come back to that conversation on the women because it's a very important one because you're one. But then there's the issue of age and experience, which you've said is fast fading out. It's no longer a thing. Do you think we're there yet? I mean, in the Nigerian context, one, age is very important in terms of the political space because of the kind of interactions you would have and the kind of people you would have those interactions with. They would call themselves the kingmakers. Secondly, the experience also counts because people want to know what level of experience you have in terms of on certain level before you decide to lead an entire nation.
Well, like you mentioned, yes, that is played out, the concept of age and experience, because most of the kingmakers you talk about started when they were younger than I am, and they grew old in office. They didn't start in office old. And you can't get to that level in office and then change the goalpost or move the goalpost because now it suits your narrative. So at the end of the day, the onus is on us to understand where our strengths are. I'm a successful businesswoman. I have been running my company I started in the public service. I've successfully run my business. I've done a lot of humanitarian work. My list goes on. And also, at the end of the day, like I mentioned, I do have the mental capacity. You can talk about men and women. Yes, we might not be physically having the same amount of energy, but intellectually, I don't think there's any difference. So the intellect is what we need to concentrate on in this race.
Money is a factor in politics. I'm sure you'll agree with me. Now, based on the people who have declared their intentions, you would understand that you're up against money bags, you're up against people who have created a political structure. As a matter of fact, quite a number of them have the structure which the parties rely on. But leave the structure and focus on money. How do you hope to get your funding for this election?
Well, I do
or
not.
Or do you have the money already?
Yes, we do.
Oh, great.
Yes, I do not believe in...
What's the source of the money first?
Would you let me answer the question?
It's very important
Okay.
because I've not spoken with any politician who agrees that they already have the money.
Yes,
So go ahead.
Yes. So, I do not believe in politics of money. I believe that the Nigerian people do have the capability to fund and maintain and sustain this campaign if it is something that they want. So we are, we're depending on the average Nigerians 500, 1,000, 5,000 naira. This is what is going to, sustain and, help us win the election. So we need to get to a point where we revolutionize the way we do politics. It's no longer, the game of Ghana must go politics and, running around with, trying to buy votes. That's gone. That era is gone.
But beyond the money for buying of votes, money to run certain other campaign activities come to play.
Yes.
So you're dependent on Nigerians
Yes.
to provide you
Yes.
with that money.
Yes.
Interesting. So let's talk about you as a woman now running for office now. You're not the first woman to run for office or declare intention. When you look back at the numbers polled by women in the past, do you not feel discouraged?
Well, there are a lot of both men and women that have run that have had, bad results. So it's not about, women having low numbers. It's about running a campaign, and they did their best. And at the end of the day, Nigerians will pick who they want to pick. And this is I'm in it. Let us engage widely. Let us, when the time comes, campaign, and let us test the will of the people. Let us test it. Let us listen to them for once.
I agree with you that bad numbers could go either way, for the men or the women. But it's the women who have suffered it the most, because that's why we still don't have a female president. Did you take your time to research on what could be wrong, what could be responsible for why women are still having that backseat attention in politics?
Well, I have been consulting widely, even with some who have run. The ones who have run, actually, yes, I have consulted all that have run before. And I really, really, really want to appeal to the men as well, in terms of how you project the women. And like I told you, intellectual capacity is no different. So why, I just hope that, you guys will start giving, you men will start giving us, the real attention and, that we deserve. We need to get all the credits that we have worked for. So yes, we'll as we keep consulting, I'm sure there's so much I can learn from their campaigns and what they did, what they didn't do. This is why there's a wealth of experience that I'm ready to dive into. So yes.
Let me read something out to you. Someone says, from your intention that was declared and the social media reactions, she won't get one vote from those people who believe that a woman's place is in the kitchen, the bedroom, or the other room. How does that make you feel as a woman?
Well, I believe we are the majority who are the youth do not have that ideology. That's what I want to believe, number one. Number two, there's a global shift everywhere in the world. Everybody understands that, not including women in the political story, is you're destined. It's almost like you're destined. We're trying to. I'm not going to say. I will not even say that we're almost giving ourselves no room to grow. So it's inevitable. We have the time and the chance now to engage women and get all the ideas, because at the end of the day, women are the leaders of our extended families. If the women are raising the children that are supposed to be leaders of tomorrow, and you're not listening to them, their voices are not heard, then how do you want to run the country?
Are you familiar with the bill that's killed second reading? It's before the House of Representatives to create additional seats for women in the National and State House of Assembly. Are you familiar with the bill? Mm-hmm. Good. I'll ask you what you think about that bill, but let me also draw your attention to a similar bill, the Gender Equality Bill that was stepped down in the Senate. Mm-hmm. You followed that. You saw the reaction from the men. These are men in the political space already that you appeal to give leverage to the women or give opportunity to the women. With that in mind, what's your reaction to these two scenarios?
Well, first thing, it seems like you're submitting a narrative that says the people cannot vote in what they want. That's number one, in terms of the race I'm running, which is running for the president. Now, if the people do want this, a majority of the people, then we will get it. That's number one. Number two, the Gender Equality Bill, it was disappointing that it was stepped down a second time. However, we understand the intricacies of, or the fear, I'll call it the fear of the men in the House or in the Senate. We understand their fears. But we also understand that we cannot make any difference if we do not have the political will. And political will is what we're going for. we cannot make any changes. You can say all year round, oh, you need to stoop to conquer. At this point in time, that doesn't work. So we need to get the political will. I think the fear generally is almost like I think people normally feel like, oh, women, will have no will have no regard for the men. However, that's the opposite. We actually revere men. We actually respect men. There's absolutely no reason for that fear. I think more of it comes from maybe their thoughts of how we are being treated now. And, you think, oh, we're going to do worse or we're going to do the same. But that's actually not the way women think. So we are going in there because we want to serve. We see the degradation. We see that there's no basic amenities for our children. We are thinking of generations to come, not anything else. So we are trying to get in there to change and help. Not to go in there and try and disregard some. No, that's not what we are in there for. We need to get in there, but if we keep getting these obstacles, it's almost certain that we need to have political will to get anything done in Nigeria. That political will is the presidency. Now, because of the way the constitution is, but now, like, we get the presidency, but development must still start from the grassroots. So we still have to go through the basic amenities provided so we can start growing, and then you close the gap. So if we're still talking about, the gender fights or gender bickering, that's not going to, it's another division to stall national development.
The way politics works in Nigeria, the Nigerian context is always supposed to be used as example because there are some peculiarities with us in Nigeria, and to a great extent, the two major parties play a big role in the outcome of elections. Know that you're still consulting and you haven't decided on what political, or have you?
We haven't, no.
Great, okay. So I was going to ask you this question. Is there any consideration for the PDP, the APC, considering the sizes of those parties and their structures?
Those two parties do not represent what we are going for. So we're still consulting widely. Whatever choice we make is actually going to be a consensus. So it's not a decision where we're making by ourselves. It's a decision for the people, by the people.
Very well then. You are running for office at a very dire time. It's a very, very tight period. The economy is ailing. You have inflation in double digits. Unemployment rate is high. Everything just seems to be to not be going according to expectation. And anyone who takes over in 2023 has a lot to do, has a job cut out for them. How abreast are you with these issues, and how do you intend to address them?
I'm very aware of the issues. I am getting briefings on a daily. I'm having to read as many documents as possible to get, to come to be as aware of all the things going on. However, like I said, for us to make any headway in governance, we need to first understand the power of dialogue. We're not talking to each other enough. We're not listening to each other enough. We need to understand how we can take a Pan-African look at things in terms of our neighboring countries. We need to understand our the demography of what is around us, and do SWOT analysis on who are our allies. How do we engage them? How do we understand what needs to be done? Then I think we also need to understand and engage more with our Nigerians living abroad, in the diaspora. I think we don't understand how relevant they are and how much they are contributing to our present developments. So they need to be included in any decision making that's going on. We also need to understand our security and welfare of our security agents. That's key in how we can move forward. But also, we need to leverage on information sharing technology and how, diplomatic negotiations and diplomatic understanding of who we are as a people. We we cannot be coming from any corner. We have to create our own story. We have to create our own game plan. It's no longer business as usual. It's no longer, we have so much resources around us, apart from, natural resources, human resources, human capital. We have everything. So we just need to be able to organize. Organizing is so key. And organizing can only happen when there's an enabling environment.
The education sector still begs for attention. I don't know if you observed it as well. But if that's on your mind, how do you hope to address the issue of out-of-school children and the poor state of our infrastructure in our tertiary institutions?
Well, like I mentioned, technology is going to help us out on these fronts. We have to go leapfrog years ahead. We cannot use our outdated methods in education, in the educational sector. This is why we require a lot of conversations and information sharing with other parts, other countries that have done these things and are willing to help. But it requires political will. I keep saying it requires we can't get anything done. You have laws in place. Law and order law is another area that we need to discuss. We have laws in place, but there's no will. There's no political will to get things done. And until we get to the point where we say, you know what, by hook or by crook, we're going to move forward. Whether any section or any, and I think everybody is catching on to the buzz. They understand that this is a time where we, as a country, need to make a cohesive decision. And so, these areas, they are obviously paramount on my mind. We can't really do much without our children being educated. And you can imagine it's the bane of every woman. It's the bane of the youth. When you see, if we train our youth, they represent us everywhere in the world. Imagine what they would do for us here. So we need to ensure that training skills, training centers and training opportunities are available for them, and training and education from primary, from nursery. This is local government's task, and so this is where also, like we talked, I know you haven't mentioned anything about restructuring, but these are the parts that restructuring would fix, because the local government is the government closer to the people. But you can't have the local government functioning if there's no political will.
The issue of restructuring, which you just mentioned, has been a topic of conversation over the years, and no one has been able to come out clearly as to what exactly restructuring is. Beyond the local government administration gaining strength and at that level, that restructuring at that level, what else do you think that we could do as a country going forward in terms of restructuring?
Diversification is key, because I see that 26% of our GDP is dependent on oil. It's I think it's 40-something% of our foreign exchange. It's 90-something% of our expenditure, budgets expenditure. Nigeria cannot be unprepared in any situation where our biggest threat is AI. People are going to AI and technology and electric cars, and then we're left in the cold. So we need to diversify. And before the advent of oil, we were a rich country. So what happened? Where did that go? What happened? So these are questions that are rhetorical, but they need to be asked. And so when we look at all these the restructuring situation, I think just like with everything, we need to speak about it. This is just one aspect of it, just like we talked about the local government. But if we do not have conversations and we do not sit down, okay, what do we want? How do we want to do it? How do we want to deliver? You cannot force, these are situations where we just have to be cohesive in delivering.
And I think this also includes fixing our politics. You were part of the meeting over the weekend where the conversation on fixing Nigeria's politics for attendance development was eventually brought up. But then again, I ask you, for someone like you who is sort of new on the scene And for anyone who'd have an ambition like you but won't have the leverage of the big political parties, how do we fix this politics in a way that it creates sort of a level playing ground for everyone?
First things first, which is what I hope my candidacy has done, is to break any, existing status quo in terms of who can run for what and who cannot run for what. So, it's symbolic as well. Apart from the fact that you're trying to inspire leadership, you're also trying to ensure that they understand that nothing is beyond their grasp. So, awakening comes in different shifts, in tiny shifts. So for these guys, for the young ones, the youth that are coming into it, that want to come into it, first of all, you need to identify who you are as a person. You need to understand your ideology. You cannot be moved by money or by personality. You need to understand who you are as a person. You need to learn. You need to study. You need to, go through as much history or, whatever it is that you project. Whatever you project is what becomes. And you need to understand that people say it a lot, but I need people to understand that that is what it is. So you need to project and understand what you want to be as a person. Throughout my journey in life, I have everybody I have met in my lifetime, I think, would understand the fact that this is what projection does. And I want them to also understand that once you decide on what your ideology is, please, no matter what it is, you need to keep going. You've told me about so many people who have said things about me. It's not deterring me. You need to keep going. You need to identify. This is why our offices, we're trying to create them as youth centers. That's one thing that is missing from our political space. In everything, even in business, people are mentored. But in politics in Nigeria, nobody's mentored. They just expect you to just stumble into the space. No, you have to be groomed. There has to be, just like the school of politics, you have to go through that shapes your understanding of what governance looks like. It's not self-serving. It's for the people. So once you are able to identify, okay, this is what, and the school of politics, by the way, offers scholarships. I've never had a scholarship in my life. That was the first scholarship. I'm in the second cohort. So that's something that is quite, it was quite inspiring for me, because I'm like, oh, wow. So these youth centers, I don't want to call them campaign offices. They're youth centers. They're open to every youth. Identify the one in your locality, in your area. Walk in. You are welcome to any of the youth centers. Hey, look, this is what I do, this is how I am. There'll be somebody in there. This is what organizing does. There'll be somebody in there to link you with somebody. Politics is definitely who you know, but it's not which big man or big woman you know. It is the people you meet on your everyday life. That is your political network. So you don't expect that I'm just going to fold my arms until some big wig picks me out of the, no. You're in charge of your future. You're in charge of your political growth. So just identify, work with it, keep going. If that is truly your mission, doors and your path will open as you go. However, you have to also understand that it is not self-serving. There are sacrifices you must make. There are things that you must just understand that would happen along the way. And you just have to keep going. And, once you have the opportunity to serve the people and you do it right, people will trust you. And trust is what brings about your opening of your political career.
I know you've said that you're willing to go the entire mile for this journey. Going into 2023, what are your hopes? What are your fears as an aspirant?
Well, my hopes, as you know, is, I'm working towards winning, and I'm working towards continually creating national consciousness for the whole country, really, not just, the youth and across the board. Now, when you talk about fears, I'm not sure that I think I've put the fears aside. I think I have decided and I have made up my mind to do what's best for the country and for the generations to come. I think my presence in the political space is going to, one way, whichever way it is, help. If not this dispensation, if not the next dispensation, many dispensations to come.
Smaller parties had in the past tried to form coalition to oust these bigger parties and not really worked. Either they've not been able to muscle up the numbers, or they've not been able to agree on who exactly or how to go about the coalition. Would you be open to a coalition?
Oh, definitely. A grand coalition is, if you want to run the country, you can't do it from a corner. And I keep saying that you have to open up the space and you have to open up access. So a grand coalition is the goal. Grand coalition is different from just a merger of people to grab power. Grabbing power is a list of our problems. My biggest problem is a grand coalition that allows us to organize in ways that push the country forward. So the people, when you're organizing, the people who want to tackle the education sector would find themselves, and they'll come up with a solution. The people who are in the security apparatus will find themselves, and they'll create, the policies that would push. The people in health sector, they'll find themselves. Everybody, we just need a platform that we can all find and organize ourselves, which is what has been missing. They've always tried to keep us separate, tribe. As you know, nobody cared. Even in small villages, people don't really care what tribe you are. Everybody lives in harmony. It's only when it comes to politics that they create these lines. So these lines are to ensure that we stay divided. So now that we're getting conscious, we need to understand that no, that's not going to work.
So 2019, 2023, put those together. What do you expect to be different in 2023 with regard to how we conduct our elections or the possible outcome of the elections?
Well, we are hoping that INEC would be as independent as they are, and they would ensure that the voice of the people are heard. And we would continue engaging widely. We have to do our work. We cannot expect any, we can't expect any, we can't expect any, miracles. We need to do the work. Miracles don't happen unless you do the work. So here we are, out here, doing our work on a daily. Once we leave Abuja, I think the next stop is Warri, and then we'll go to Bornu. So yes, we're just on ground. So this is the work we do.
Well, I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to speak with us, Khadijah Okunnu-Lamidi.
Thank you.
Well, that's Political Paradigm. Thanks for watching. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.